guys, it's Damien from Marketing Food Online, and sorry, I am in our new studios. We are actually getting ready to wrap up finishing the room here. I'm going to do a really super quick video. I actually am going to answer a handful of questions. Sorry about that, trying to get the camera set. Questions from you guys. I am in, like I said, the room here. I've got this on and this on because the heater is not on and it is very cold. So I'm going to get really quick into it. I had a handful of questions from some subscribers about their food business that they are online. One of them is about eBay, and in regards to posting the license. One of my subscribers asked me about on Etsy. She sells a food product and she is licensed in a licensed facility. So she has that information on her site on Etsy. So she was asking about where would be a good place to put it on eBay, or at least how to convey that information to potential buyers to kind of encourage more people to buy food products from her. So this is how I do it. I actually have on our listings, I have a pretty much like a template, and it's a pre-existing template, so it's kind of already pre-laid out. So every single one of our products, it shows that we are inspected by the Department of Agriculture. We are also a licensed and insured facility. So that really brief statement, you don't necessarily need to show a license number or a scanned image or something to that effect. Excuse me. You don't really need to do that. You can actually just put into your listing on the bottom or somewhere in your description that your products come from a licensed, inspected facility as well as being insured. Of course, if you have to have insurance to say that. But there's no specific place to put that. And you don't necessarily need to do that. But to be honest with you, you're actually very, very right about looking to make more sales. If you're creating a food product and selling them on Etsy or eBay or one of those platforms, letting your potential customer know about that, the fact that you're inspected, is a big selling point, to be honest with you. So I hope that answers your question. And let's scroll down a little bit more here. I do have a couple of questions in regards to when you're looking to do something, when you're starting from scratch. There was a great question about finding something that you're truly passionate about and pursuing that. Oops, sorry about that. Okay, all right, so back to another couple of the questions. There was a subscriber who asked, I have a store on Etsy and eBay. I'm looking to get additional traffic to my products. What would be a good way to do that? So if you're starting out on Etsy, it is a bit of a challenge because if you don't actually optimize your listing, if you don't have your keywords, your titles, and all of the descriptions and all of that information optimized, it can be a challenge to have customers find your product. Now, what I would suggest, and it has worked for me, and I just did a video recently about it, probably about 3 or 4 videos back, is that you can actually utilize Facebook ads, and they are tremendous. You only need to simply copy and paste the URL for the product, the individual item, onto a Facebook page. If you have a store, if you have a store and you're selling chocolates and you've got some type of a Facebook account, make sure you create a page dedicated solely to your business. It has nothing to do with personal information or anything of that sort. And then from there, you can copy and paste those links directly to that page. And then that actually you can generate a, excuse me again, a Facebook ad from that, as well as even doing a simple boost of the post. And like I said before in my video, I generated, it was close to $900 from about $40 worth of ads that I had purchased. But you can get that and create those ads to be very specific, and you can target your potential customer base much, much better if you do that. So if you're not getting the type of traffic you want from your listing and you're just kind of hoping people find you on Etsy or eBay or wherever you may be, take an opportunity, create a Facebook ad, test it out. But don't spend that much money. I would say if you're new to it, do about a $20, maybe $25 budget over the span of about a week, and then kind of tweak it and play with it and see what would be better to optimize, better ways to optimize that specific ad on your Facebook account. But it will drive a tremendous amount of traffic, trust me. All right, so we have another question from another subscriber, and she was actually asking about the label requirements for farmers markets. So if you're selling a food product at a farmers market, obviously probably a product that you make, of course, she was asking, do you have to put the ingredients on the label if you're just at a farmer's market? The answer would be yes and no. And here's the reason why I say that. I would say yes, put it on there, because the more information that you can convey to a potential customer at any venue, if it's a farmer's market, a retail store, wherever it may be, the more likely that that customer will purchase your product. Because if somebody has a particular food allergy and they don't know the exact ingredients of a product, they're not going to make a purchase of that item, okay? Plus, it comes from another issue, which would be the liability factor. Farmers markets in general, they have their own rules and guidelines if you're selling food at their venue, okay? So you need to check with the farmers market specifically where you are, and you need to double check with them if they require all of the food products to have certain label requirements above and beyond the ingredients. Potentially, like if you, of course, you got to have an allergen label on there. If you need to have the address where it's produced. If you need to also have the name of the product on the front or the back, the net weight of the product, all of these things, which I would highly recommend you just put on there anyways. Those are traditionally regulated by the FDA in regards to what's required for retail stores. So if you're in a setting where you're selling food to anybody and it's a packaged food item, okay? If you're a food truck and you're selling a lunch, a dinner or lunch, that's different. You would probably just end up putting the name of the product on there. If it's chicken wings and French fries, you won't have to break down all of the ingredients per se. But when you're selling a packaged product that's put into a container and sold to a customer at a farmer's market, highly recommend, yes, I would definitely follow up with your ingredient listing and make that happen, okay? So I have another question I'm going to get into really quick. I have from one of my subscribers about hot sauces. And actually, it was a question in regards to how to scale a business if you have a hot sauce and you wanted to package it and produce it. So really quick, one of the best ways to do this, if you're working from a cottage food standpoint and you're working at your home, you need to double check to be sure that every state is a little different about things like pickled items that could be fermented, that have vinegars, or they're a condiment, a mustard, a salsa, a vinegar, something to that effect, even a hot sauce. Make sure, number one, that you can make it from your home if you're creating batches and then bottling it and you're packaging it that way, because you want to make sure you follow all of those guidelines for cottage food business. Basically, again, so you don't get in trouble with the type of food that you're producing. Now, with that being said, can you create a food business around the idea of a hot sauce? You can't make it from home, but can you have it mass produced and then scale that production? Yes. Okay. And what's really great about that, the reason why I say that is that there are a ton of private labeled hot sauce companies all over the US that you can either do of two ways. Number one, if you have a recipe for your specific hot sauce, let me get this a little closer. There we go. You have a specific recipe for a hot sauce, and you want it to be produced on a very larger scale, and then scale that up to even more, these private label and co-packing companies can do that for you. You simply more or less present your idea or your product to them. They'll ask you a few questions about packaging, labeling, barcoding, where you want to sell it, etc. And you give them the recipe. And from the recipe, they can produce a batch and then begin to bottle it for you. Now, a lot of these companies are small run facilities, which means that they'll create a small amount of your product, maybe let's say a couple hundred bottles to 500 bottles, let's say, at a time. And then from there, as the demand for your product increases, you can do two things. You can stay with the bottler that you're using and have them increase the production if they can do that. If they have the capacity to increase their production capabilities, great. Otherwise, you then take it and you go to another one. This would be a larger run facility doing thousands of bottles either a day or a week. And you maintain the same label, the same bottle, everything about it, the packaging and the recipe. but they will be the ones to actually produce and then begin to mass produce the hot sauce on a much, much bigger scale. This will be something that you can't do from a kitchen from home. And of course, you're very limited as to the venues where you can sell the product. So that's something you want to keep in mind. So if you have a great idea for a hot sauce product, or you have a great salsa or whatever it may be, a condiment of some kind, stick with a co-packer for the small production runs, so you're not doing it at home. But keep in mind that you can take it to either another one or increase your production at that facility, and they can basically go up to thousands and thousands of bottles of the product whenever you would need it. So the question is, yes, can you scale a hot sauce business? That would be the best way to go. I'm not saying it's very simple and easy as I said it would be, but as far as the production of it, those would be the steps. The challenge of it, if you will be finding the facility that can do it for you. The only other way that they could do it as well is if you don't have a recipe. Many of them already have pre-existing recipes, and they offer a multitude of flavors, and you simply pick out which one you want, slap your name on it, and you're done. So that part is actually very, very simple, a much simpler process than it would be if you wanted to incorporate your own recipe. Not every facility that does co-packing for hot sauces and those types of products, they take on recipes that you may have. They'll normally just present a recipe to you and say, you know what, I've got these 10 flavors of hot sauces. You pick out what you want, and we'll put your label on it, and you're done. So the one thing you want to keep in mind as well as you want to pursue scaling that type of business is make sure that you've got the orders in line to fill, okay? So if you get into a couple of retail stores and you're selling a couple hundred bottles a month, make sure that when they begin to order more of them, those are concrete orders. Those are orders that you know for sure, because you don't want a retailer to kind of tell you, well, we're interested in it. We may want, or I might want to place an order. Make sure that you either have half of the order paid up front or all of it up front, and that you've got the ability to increase your productivity to match that order, okay? So if a store comes to you and says, we would like to do about 500 bottles, but we do a net 30 and we'll pay you in 30 days, you may have to put the money out to produce those bottles and then get paid. That's only if you accept those terms. So you want to keep in mind how retailers will actually buy the product from you. So with that being said, I want to wrap it up, keep it short and sweet. If you guys have any other questions you want me to answer, I'm going to make a habit actually of accumulating some of these questions and going over them with you guys in these really quick videos. So I hope that advice helps you out. If it does, as always, please do give me a big thumbs up, and I will see you guys on the next video. And check out our podcast. I believe I've got some links down in the descriptions on a handful of our podcasts here on YouTube, but you can definitely check us out on Spreaker, and we are on iTunes and a handful of other places. Take care.